Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. So, girls, this is a recording for the last part of the classes and objects module, module 10. I will start all over from the beginning of today's class. You can skip the part where you do understand everything to the last part where we have stopped during the lecture. If you need to recap anything, or if there is something during the lecture that you did not understand or get, this is your opportunity to see the lecture again. Okay? If you have any questions afterward, you can always reach me. So, Bismillah, let's start. During this module, we talked about objects and classes. We said that a class is just a blueprint, and the class does not take a space in the memory. The class always, or the class usually, will have data. We can call them also attributes that describe the class, and also behaviors, or we can call them methods or functions that will describe the behavior of the class. When I have a class, I need to make an object out of this class, and the objects are the things that will take space in the memory. Here we have created 3 objects. These objects are from the class student, so I have created 3 students. Each of these 3 students will have data, which is name and age and color and also sex, and the methods, which are eating and drinking and running. When I created this object, for example, this object reserved a space or a location in the memory, and the data or the attribute of this object is as follows. His name is John, his age is 12, his color is fair, and his sex is male. So these are the attributes for the first object. Now the behavior or the methods that is going to describe the behavior of this object. So John can eat, John can drink, and John can also run. So this is the whole idea of object and classes, and we said in Java everything revolves around object and classes. We have also talked about this over here. Let's go through this slide. Okay. We have also explained this class over here. This class is the account class. I have created a class called account. This class account has one instant variable. This instant variable is called name and has 2 instant methods. These methods are called setName and getName. Instant method, it means it will not get a space in the memory until I create an object out of this class. And this is an instant method, and this is an instant method. Instant methods mean that in order to use these methods, I need to create an object out of this class and then access this method using the dot operator. So, instant variables and instant methods. The instant variables and instant methods are usually attached to a specific class, and the class we are talking about here is account. Now, let's go to the our main class that has the main methods. This is the class account test over here. It has the main method over here. The first line is, I'm going to create an input scanner. Always, if you created a scanner variable, it means you are going to ask the user to input some data to you. So, input from scanner, a new scanner system N. So I created the scanner, the input variable to take some input from the user. Then I have created an object. The name of the object is my account. So this is my object. It's my account over here. This object has one instant variable, which is name. So I'm going to create name over here. At the start, name here it's not initiated. It means it does not have a value. Since it does not have a value, any innocent variable that are declared inside a class will have a default value depending on the type of the variable. القيمة اللي بتكون مخزنة فيها افتراضيا تعتمد على نوع الفاريبل هذا. So if the variable is a string, the value that will be stored here is null. If the variable is int, the value that will be stored is 0. If the variable is Boolean, the value that will be stored is false. Okay, we talked about this in the lecture. Now, any class that you create, any object that you create, you need to create it using the new keyword. Here we have the name of the class, which is account, and also here we have the name of the class, which is account, and also we always need to use parentheses. We've learned later on that these parentheses are very important when we have a constructor in the class and the constructor will receive value. We'll go through this again during this recording. So, system.out.print. Please print for me formatted text. What do I want you to print? Print the initial name. I want you to print this text and then go for the my account object dot get name. So this is my account object. Go for this object and find the method that inside this object, which is get name. This is the method get name. What does this method do? Go call it. This method return just the name. So since the name is not initiated yet, the value that are inside or that is inside the name is null. So I'm going to return a null here. So null is going to be printed. So this is the first line. Initial name is null. Let's continue. Now, system.out.print, please enter the name. I want the user to enter a name, so I have just printed a message for the user asking the user to enter something. So a kind of string. To enter a kind of string, I need to use the input scanner. Sorry. So the input scanner. So I created a variable here. The variable is the name. It's of the type string. So I created a variable called the name that will receive a string value. I used input scanner to take an input from the user. So if the user wrote his name or her name, like Sarah, for example, Sarah will be stored here inside this variable. Okay, right. Now I am calling the object my account dot set name and taking with me the name. So go to your object, which is my name, go call this method, which is set name, and take with you the name that the user has entered, which is Sarah. So I'm going to put Sarah here. So I received Sarah. So Sarah is the name over here. We've talked about this because I have a name variable here and I also have a name parameter here. In order to differentiate between the name that belongs to the class and the parameter name, I'm using this keyword. This keyword means that I am referring to the variable that belongs to the class, which is this variable over here. And we are going to take this keyword in details next lecture, inshallah. So this line over here, just put Sarah. Sorry, let's go back. Just put Sarah inside this variable over here. So instead of null, now name has Sarah inside. Let's go on. System.out.print line, print for me an empty line. And then system.out.print, print for me name in object, my account. Please print for me name in object, my account as, and I'm going to call the object my account dot get name. So what does get name do? Just return the name. The name now has Sarah, so I'm going to print the name, which is Sarah. So the name here is going to be printed Sarah. Of course, the user here in this program has entered the name Jane Green, so this is the output. So it depends on what the user is going to enter. Hopefully this is clear. But always remember that when you are initiating or creating an object out of the class, you are going to use the new keyword. Not just the new keyword, you also need two parentheses here. So the parentheses are required. We talked about this, the static method and the instant method. As I said, the instant method are the method that belongs to this class over here. So this is an instant method and this is an instant method. In order to use this method, I have to create an object of the class account and then use this method by using the object like in here, the object and then dot the method name. So the only way to use this instant method is to create an object from this class and then use the dot operator to call these two methods. However, the static methods are different, and we are going to go over the static method later on in this lecture. So there is a slide about static method. We're going to talk about it in details when we reach the slide. Right. Now, as I said also earlier, always remember that the local variables that you are defining inside your code does not have, if you did not give them an initial value, will not have an initial value. For example, if you are in the main method, okay, inside the main method, you have created a variable which is int x. You did not give an x a value yet. So x does not have a value. You just created a variable which is x. This is called a local variable. Why this is called a local variable? Because this variable x is initiated inside the main method. If you try to print system.out.print the x, you will have a compiler error. Why? Because x does not have a value yet. They don't put, or the Java does not put a default value for the local variables inside the main method. However, this is not true for the instant variable. Where is the instant variable? These are the instant variables over here in this class, in the my account class. So name is an instant variable. In this example, we did not give name a value. However, when we asked the program to print the value inside the name at first, it did not cause a compiler error. It actually printed the value now. Why? Because it has saved inside the variable its default value. The default value will be different depending on the type of the variable. If the instant variable was of type string, then the default value will be null. If the instant variable was of type character short, int, long, float, double, then the default value will be 0. So the word initialized, it means the first value that this variable will have. القيمة المبدئية اللي بتعطينها هذا الفاريبل. If it was a boolean, then the variable will be initialized to false. You can also initialize the variable to whatever value you want. Like here, I have made or created this variable, and I gave it the value, which is 10. So it depends on what do you want your program to do. So just remember that the local variables inside the int method are not initialized by default. You need to give them a value before you use them, but the instant variable inside the methods, inside the class, are giving a default values. Right. Constructors. We also went through the constructors in our class. Constructors are really easy. So each class you can declare optionally. So you can put a constructor, and if you don't want, you don't put a constructor. So it's up to you, or it depends on what you want the class to do. If you, however, choose to put a constructor, what's a constructor? A constructor can have a parameter and also might not have a parameter, but usually we use a constructor to initialize that can be used to initialize an object of the class when the object is created. So to initialize, it means if the class has an instance variable and you want to give them an initial values, we usually does that using a constructor. And we're going to take a few examples about this right now. The most important thing to know is the constructor will always have the same name as the class name. This is how you know that you have a constructor in the class. Plus, it will look like a method, which means the constructor will always have two parentheses. The constructor also does not have a return type. So remember these things. The constructor always have the same name as a class. It will look like a method, so it has parentheses and does not have an explicit return type. Let's move on. Let's take an example for a constructor. Here, I have defined a class that's called my class. This class has a constructor. How did I know? Because, this should be on a new line, but I did not fix this slide. This should be on a new line. So this is a constructor, which is my class. I know that it's a constructor because it has the same name as the class, plus it has parentheses, and it does not have a return type. What does this constructor do? Let's see. This is my main method. I have created an object called T1. This object has one variable, which is num. Okay, so created variable created object T1 from the class my class. Once you have created this object, okay, the constructor will be by default called. What does this constructor do? It initializes the value of number. It just puts 100 inside num. So T1 will have 100 inside. Now, I'm creating T2 also from class my class. So this is T2. It also has num as its own instant variable. Since I've created this object, so I'm also calling the constructor that will also put 100 inside this class. If I want to print this value and I want to print this value, it's very easy. The only thing I'm going to do is the name of object. My object is T1. I want you to go find T1 dot number. Then print for me T1, and T1 has a variable which is called num. I want you to print the value of num, which is 100. If I want to print this as well, then I want to go and print the value of T2 dot num. Then print me this 100. Easy. Another example. Here I have a class that's called also my class. It also has a constructor. However, this time, this constructor receives a parameter. The parameter is of type int. Why? Because it has also an instant variable of the type int. This constructor will take in the value of I and put it inside X. This is why it needs to be the same data type. So here in my main, I created the first object T1 from my class. So T1, it has one variable which is X. The difference is that when I'm creating this object, I will be calling this constructor. However, I'm taking with me the value of 10. So I will hold 10, which means that 10 will be added into X. So this is 10 over here. Now, let's go and create the other one. Creating the object T2 from the class, my class, it also has only one variable, instant variable, which is X, but this time I'm calling the constructor with the value 20. So X has 20. If I want to print them, the only thing I'm gonna do is T1 system.out.print T1 which is going to print 10, which is the value inside T1, and T2.x, which is going to print for me 20, which is the value inside the object T2. Easy peasy. Right. What about the word static? What does static mean? If you declare any variable as a static, it is known as a static variable. We can declare some variable as a static. Right. But what does that mean for you? The static variable can be used to refer to the common property of all objects. We're going to understand what does that supposed to mean now. Also, the static variable gets memory only once in the class area at the time of class loading. I have a class over here. This class is called student. It has two instant variable, which is roll I think it's a abbreviation for roll number, and another instant variable which is name. These instant variable will not have a memory allocation until you create an object out of the class student. However, you have here, this should be static. This should be like this. Static. So you have here a class, inside the class, this variable which is called static string college, and it has the value its. This here means that once I have a static variable, I'm going to have a space in the memory for this static variable, and it's going to be called college, and the value inside of it is its. So a static variable will always be created in the memory once the class definition is loaded. يعني إذا كان الكلاس حقي داخله static نوعه أو معرف داخله variable معرف على إنه static، أول ما أشوف الستاتيك variable هذا راح يحجز له مكان في الذاكرة ويسوي لي إياه. Let's see how this is going to affect our code. I have here a student class with these two instant variable. Then I have the static string college its. So let's create it over here. I have my static variable that will be created directly in the memory, college, and the value inside of it is its. Also, I have a constructor, student, because it's the same name as a class. And let's go read, and also I have an instant method, which is the display method. Okay, my class starts from here and it's end here. Now I'm inside the main. In the main, I'm creating the first object. My first object is S1. I'm creating S1 of type student. So S1, it's over here. S1 has two instant variable, which is role, no, and name. So this is the first one, which is role, no, and the name, which is in here. Once I've created this object using the new keyword, then I'm also calling that constructor, which is going to be called directly. The constructor student will receive these two values, the 111 and the Karen. The 111 will be filled inside rule on. So rule on will have 111, and N will receive the Karen, which is going to go inside the name. This is the first object. Please notice that we did not touch or talk about the static at all. طيب. Now, S2 in the same way. We created another object from the same class, S2. It has two variables. When I'm calling the constructor, I'm taking these two values. So the rule number will have 222, and the name will have Aryan. So this is the first object and the second object. Now, S1.display. Please display for me the value of S1. S1, my object, I want to go and use this method, which is display. This method display is going to print out the value of roll number, which is inside S1, since it's the object that's called it. So the value is 111. Then going to print a space. Then I want you to print the value of name, which is Karen. Then a space. Then please print me the value of college. What is the value of college? There is no variable college inside here. However, the variable college is a static variable. A static variable means that it's a common property for all objects. Common, that means it's shared by all the objects. يعني كل الأوبجكت حقت الكلاس تقدر توصل له. They can use it. So, when I say I want the college value, then S1 will use this variable. So here it will print ITS. Let's see what's happened with the other one. S2.display. So S2 will now call display. Print roll number, which is 222, then space. Print for me the name, which is Aryan, and then space. And then please print for me the college. What is college? Is the static variable that is shared by all the objects. كل الأوبجكت اللي عندي راح تستخدم نفس static variable اللي هو college. So ITS. This is because it was defined with the static keyword. If it was not defined with the static keyword, if it was like this without static, it means it's an instant variable. It means that in here and in here, if it did not, this is the case that if it did not have a static, so it will mean that in here I'm going to have college in this object, and in here I will have the instant variable college in this object as well. إذا كانت بدون الستاتيك keyword معناتها إن الكولج راح تكون instant variable، معناتها في نسخة داخل الأوبجكت الأول وفي نسخة ثانية داخل الأوبجكت الثاني، وكل نسخة منفصلة عن الثانية. لأني معرفتها بالستاتيك keyword فهي ما هي نسخ منفصلة، لا، ما عندي إلا واحدة داخل الميموري وكل الأوبجكت راح تستخدمها. Okay? I hope that this is clear. Let's continue. Another example. I have a class called counter. Okay, and counter and count, equal to 0. This is an instant variable that's only going to take a place in the memory once you created or create an object out of this class. Right. And I also have the constructor, which is here. Now, inside the main, created the first object, S1, from the class counter. This is my first object, S1. It has a count. The count at the beginning is going to be 0. However, when you created this object, you also call the counter. What does the counter do? It's only going to add one value to the counts. So it was 0, it's now going to be 1. Not just that, it will also print system.out.print, print for me the count. How much is the count? Is 1. So this is the output, 1. Again, create C2. Once you create the C2, go and call for me the constructor, and the constructor will increase the count by 1. So 1 is here, print count, which is also 1. C3 the same way. C3, it has only one variable, which is count. Once I created this object, I'm going to call the constructor that will increase the value of count by 1 and then print it. So the output is 1. This is the output. Easy peasy. Now, let's go and see this example. In this example, we have changed one thing only. What? The count is now a static variable, which means that once I have defined this class, I have here a variable that's name count, and the value of count now is 0. Right. Let's create our object. Created the first object, which is C1. C1 will, I will create the variable C1 from the class counter, which means I'm going to call the counter keyword. Just notice that I did not define count inside the object because it's a static variable, so it's outside here. So I'm creating, calling now counter, which will increase the count by 1. So instead of count being 0, it will be 1. Print count for me, I'm going to print 1. Now, C2 the same way. Go and call counter. Counter will use the same count, which is this variable. Go to the same static variable and increase it by 1. So instead of 1, it's going to be 2. Please print me count, which is 2. Again, C3, go please call the counter constructor. The counter constructor will increase the value of count by 1. So count now is 3. I want you to print the value of count, which is now 3. See the difference? Here we have a shared variable that all of these objects have used. This is why the value have changed. Here, no, it was an innocent variable that each of these object has its own copy of it. شاء يكون clear. Right. Now for the static method. We've talked about the innocent method. This example is for the static method. Look a bit closer. I have a class here that's called calculate. Nothing inside this class, but only one method. This method is cube. It received a parameter of type int, and it's defined with the keyword static. It means, since it's defined with the word static, it means I can access this method directly without using an object. So without creating an object out of class calculate. If I want to use the method cube inside my main method, it's very easy. And I've created a variable called result. And then what is the name of the class? The name of the class is calculate. Then calculate dot the name of the method, which is cube. and it will receive a number which is 5. The only thing this method will do is just 5 by 5 by 5, which is 125. It will return this to result, and it will print the result. So whenever you need to use a cube, you're just going to need to use the class name and then followed by the method name, and then send whatever number you want. Okay, I did not create object of the class calculate. No, I just directly accessed the static method using the class name without creating an object. This is the difference between the static method and the instant method. Here we're talking about, since we've started this course, we have defined variables and methods using the public and private modifiers. This is a whole table telling you the difference between all of these modifiers that we might use. We have the public and the private. We also have another one called protected that we did not use yet. And the default means that you don't use any modifier, not public, not private, and anything. And also the effect of these modifiers when we are inside the same class, when you are inside the same package or subclasses or different packages in different subclasses and so on. So we're going to concentrate on the public and private and take a few examples. Let's take the first example. I have two separate files. This is file number 1 and this is file number 2. In the file number 1, I have defined a package. And we are going to learn about package in a later lecture, inshallah. So I have defined a package. That package is called ABC package. Inside the package, I have one class. The class name is addition. Inside this class, I have a method that's a public method. And this is a public class. Okay? This is the first file. In the second file, I have another package that I have defined, which is XYZ package. Because I want to use this method or this class, then I need to import this package, which is the ABC package. So I have imported the ABC package here. I have created a class called test. I have my main method. Now, I have created an object from the addition class. So this is the addition class, created an object out of it. Object dot add to number. Look at the to number. This method add to number, it's a public method. Since it's a public method, I can access this method using the object even if I am in another package or another file. If the method is declared with the public modifier, it means that it can be accessed from anywhere. Any method, any subclass, any package can access this method or this variable. Why? لأنها معرفة بالموديفاير اللي اسمه public يعني عامة، يعني أي حد يقدر يوصل لها. طيب, what if we are using the modifier private? So I have a class here called ABC. I have defined one instant variable, which is num. I made it private. Another private instant method, which is square. Since these are private, so nobody can access these unless they are inside this class. So nobody outside this class is allowed to use the number or the square method. It's private, مخصوصة, only for this ABC class. So if I create another class, which is example, and this is my main method, I have created an object out of my ABC class. Now I want to print system.out.print object.num. I'm trying to access the number object, the num object, which was defined using the private keyword from another class. I can't do that. It will produce a compiler error. Why? Because this is private. If you want to access it like this, then this should be defined as public. Okay. Let me try and see if no need. I was going to do another example, but that's it. If you have a question, you can ask anytime. Now, initiating and using objects. This is very easy because we've already went through this. Each of the following statements create an object and assign it to a variable. Here, I have create an object called origin1 from the class point. And always when I'm creating an object, I have to use the new keyword and I have to add parentheses. Why? Because if this class has a constructor, then the constructor might receive value to the parameter using the parentheses. So since there is two values over here, it means the class point has a constructor that will has two parameters. Here we have created an object called rect1 from the rectangle class, and it has a constructor that will receive three values. Here, object called rect2 from the class rectangle, and it will receive, the constructor will receive two values. So the declaration part is the code set in bold. This should be in bold, showing you that these are the objects that are creating from these classes. Okay. Initiation means the values that you are putting inside the variables of the class. So the new keyword, it will help me initiate an object out of this class, not just this, and also if there is an instant variable that will receive this value, it will put the values inside of them, just like in here. تماما زي الأمثلة اللي خذناها. زي هنا. So I've just created an object, S1, and I have initiated my object and sent to my constructor these two values. My constructor will fill these variables with the values I've just sent. So this is like a summary of everything that we have done. Initialization is the new operator, is followed by a call to a constructor, which we just called about, the call that's in here, which will initialize the new object with the values that you have just sent. Okay, it's like a summary of everything we've just explained. Easy. Implementing this class, we're going to take two very easy examples. We're going to take two very easy examples. So the first example is here. I have a class, just a second. Yep. Right. So this is a class, the class called lamp. It started from here and it ends all the way over here. This is my class main, which has my main methods. Very easy class. It only has one instant variable, which is on, from a type Boolean. It means it will hold a value which is either true or false. It has two instant methods, an instant method that's called turn on and an instant method that's called turn off. That's it. So let's create the first object. I will create from the lamp class, I'll create the object that's called LED. This is my object. It has only, as I said, one variable, which is on. Another object, I've created an object called Hooligan. Okay, it has also one variable, which is on. Right. It's like, imagine this example as we have a lamp, and we want to see, or we want to know if the lamp is turned on or turned off. So let dot turn on. Go to the first object, which is let. طيب, and call the turn on method. This is the turn on method over here. What does this method do? It will fill is on with the value true, so true, and then I'm going to print system.out.print. Please print for me the text light on plus the value which is on. So I'm going to print is the light on? I'm asking a question, and the value which is inside of it, which is true. So yes, true. Right. The other one is over here. Hooligan.turn off. Go and call this method using this object, Hooligan. So the only thing it's going to do is fill is on with the value false. So false will be filled here. Then I'm going to print light on and print what is inside is on, which is now false. So I'm asking, is the light on? Printed false, which means that the light is not on, it's false. So it's just a class that show you when a light is on and when a light is off. Easy peasy. Last example is this one. Also very easy example. I have a class. Think of this class as we are having a bank account. And I want sometimes to check my balance if I have money in my bank account. If I deposit some money inside my account, the sum or the balance of my account should increase. If I withdraw some money from my account, the balance of my account should decrease. So this is what's going to happen. I've created a class called account. Sorry. Here. So class called account. The class called account have this instant variable int account name, and this instant variable also that's called amount. All of these instant variable. It has this method, instant method, which is insert, have depose method, withdraw method, and check balance method, and a display method. So the class starts from here and it ends all the way here. Okay, let's go and read the example. So in my test account class, inside my main method, I'm going to create an object called A1 from the class account. So this is my object A1 from the class account. I know that the class account has these three instant variables. So account number. So account number, this is the first variable. Account name, this is the second variable. And the third one is the amount. So amount. Right. Now, A1.insert. Please, for the object A1, go and call the method insert and take with you these values over here, which is this one, and this one. What does this value do? I'm going to go to the insert method. I will receive these three values and I will use them to fill my variables over here. So the name will be here. The sum of the account or the amount of the money I have is going to be in the amount, which is 1,000. And this is the account number, which is 83 something. So the method insert just help you fill these variables over here. So let's fill them. This is the account number. This is the name. and this is the balance. The balance or the amount mean you only have 1,000 in your account now. Now, A dot display. Go for the A1, for the object A1, and call the display. The display only display, which is print your account number, the name of the account, and the amount. So A1 dot account is the account number. A1 dot name will print Ankit, and A1 dot amount will print the amount in your account, which is 1,000. So the display will just print everything about your account, the account number, your name of the account, and the amount of money that this account holds. A1 dot check balance. Now I'm going to go and call the check balance. A check balance method, very easy, just will print for you how much money do you have in your account. So system.out.print, print for me the amount. So what is the amount? This is the amount inside A1, which is 1,000. So balance is 1,000. This is what I'm going to print. Balance is, and balance, which is 1,000. Now, A1 dot deposit with 40,000. Go for the A1, my object A1, and then find me the deposit method and receive please 40,000. What do I do with it? In your amount, what is my amount? This is my amount. Keep the amount. So deposit, it means you are adding money to your account. So keep the money I have, which is the 1,000, and add to that this money, the 40,000. So just please put 40,000 plus the 1,000 that I have and update the amount. So the amount now is 41,000. Right. What is I'm going to print here? System.out.print. Please print for me AMT. What is AMT? It's the value that I have received, 40,000. And then the word deposit. It's like a message that will tell you you have just deposited 40,000 something. So this is the output, 40,000 deposited. Then I want to check my balance to make sure that I've just deposited the 40,000 and the sum of my balance is now 41,000. So I'm going to call again the check balance. Go and do check balance. Please print for me balance ends and amount. So just look over here. I've just printed the balance and the amount is 41,000 something, whatever was the currency. That was from here. Like, what if I want to withdraw, take some money from my account? I have taken 15,000 something. So go and call this method, the withdraw with the value 15,000. What is the withdraw method? This is the withdraw method. So in the amount, I'm going to add 15,000. But before you withdraw money, before you take money from the account, first make sure that this account has sufficient funds. How I'm going to take money if I don't have any money in my account? This is why I need to check if the amount I'm trying to take, which is 15,000, is less than what I have in my bank account. Then print for the user, you have insufficient balance. You don't have enough money to take 15,000. However, the 15,000 is less than what I have, which is 41,000. So the else is going to be executed. The else will just do some calculation, which is 41,000 minus 15,000 and update the amount with the new value. Not just that, I will print a message that say AMT is the 15,000 withdrawn. So I just want to alert the user or the person that you have just withdrawn 15,000. Now I have updated this. I've took money out of my account. After I did the calculation, the remaining money in my account is 26,000. Still good. I want to check the money. Then I'm going to call check balance again. Check balance again. We're going to print how much money I have. So the amount here is 26,000. This is the last line. Balance is 26,000. Very easy, very straightforward. You just have to get into the mood of using classes and objects, and inshallah it will be very easy for you. If you have any questions, please ask, and please make sure to see this lecture before going into our next lecture, because everything is just built on everything else. كل محاضرات تسلسلية, everything is sequential, so you really need to see this lecture before moving into another lecture. Okay? Thank you so much for listening.